Hello, and how is everybody doing today? It's Dr. Amina appearing live for you with hopefully a little helpful information. And today I'm gonna pick on Coca-Cola. I like to pick on sodas because they're everywhere and they're so full of sugar. And I'm not gonna pretend that sodas don't taste good. They actually do taste good. But when you realize what they do to your body, it kind of turns you off. At least that's the case for me. The last time I had a soda was probably, maybe 4 years ago. I had a Coca-Cola. I was back home in the Caribbean, and it was a hot day. And I needed something to drink, and basically the cheapest thing was a soda, and it actually was expensive because in the Caribbean Coca-Cola sodas are quite expensive. But it was actually the cheapest thing, cheaper than water, I believe. So I had a can of Coca-Cola, and it was so refreshing. It tasted so good. But the fact is, these things are bad for you, maybe poison, in extreme doses, right? So this can of Coca-Cola, right? What does this label say? One thing I noticed, by the way, is the fact that it mentions on it not a significant source of saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, and then they mention fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. All right, so it's like they're trying to tell you, well, it's not a significant source of saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, so it's not that bad. Like, you can eat it, right? But then when you examine the label a little better, you see that it actually has total sugars 39 grams. So let's call that 40 grams of sugar. Every 4 grams of sugar is equal to 1 teaspoon of sugar, right? What's the recommended daily allowance of sugar that we should be consuming? Added sugar, I should say, no more than 6 teaspoons. So foods, fruits, vegetables, etc., those are naturally occurring sugars, right? But in terms of added sugar, right, the table sugar, what are the sweetener, honey or whatever we use in our foods and drinks, we really should aim to have no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar in a 24-hour period. And that is according to World Health Organization. Some people might say, some organizations I believe might say 5 teaspoons, but let's just say 6 teaspoons of added sugar, right? So this has 10 teaspoons, right? 39, say 40 grams of sugar is equivalent to 10 teaspoons of sugar in this one can of Coca-Cola. So already you've gone almost twice your recommended daily, twice the amount of sugar you should have in a day, right? Now, what exactly does this can of soda contain, right? It contains, well, carbonated water, then it has high fructose corn syrup, one of the commonest sweeteners added to packaged and processed foods, at least in the United States, right? High fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid, right? That sounds scary. Phosphoric acid, and that's the 4th ingredient listed, right? So it's not an insignificant ingredient. Then it has natural flavors, whatever that means, right? Natural flavors, like, that's basically stuff that's, even if it's occurring naturally, it's extracted during like the process, like in a factory, basically, at an industrial scale. It's kind of extracted from whatever, so it's processed anyway, and Lord knows what that entails and what exactly it is at the end of the day. And then of course it has caffeine, right? So if you really study this label, as much as it says it's not a significant source of fat, trans fat, and so on, so they're trying to get you to think, oh, this is not going to make you fat because it doesn't really have any of those things. But when you realize that it has 10 whole teaspoons of sugar, right, and you really should be having no more than 6 teaspoons, you realize that this is not good. Now, why do we even care about sugar and what it does to the health, right? Okay, we know that sugar contributes to diabetes, but the thing about sugar is that in excess, right, it ends up being stored as fat, right? So we drink the soda, right? We have this soda. Oftentimes you might have 2, 3, 4 sodas. I remember once I had a patient and she was actually drinking a 12-pack of these Coca-Cola, cans every single day because they taste so good. It's easy to get addicted, and obviously she was addicted because she had to take 12 whole cans of these every single day. That's 12 cans of phosphoric acid and other things, high fructose corn syrup and so on, right? So as much as it tastes good, and I agree it tastes really nice, but when you look at the ingredients and then you start thinking about what this could potentially do to your body, it makes you realize, it tastes good, but I probably should really hardly ever have something like this, right? So you drink this, you know, we're sitting around, you're not really using all the sugar as energy. Your brain, you know, if you're drinking several cans of this, and then maybe you have a muffin that has some added sugar as well. You probably have a snack bar that's some more added sugar. You have a container of yogurt, and so as the day progresses, you can see that your added sugar intake can approach 50 teaspoons, if not more. And I'm talking from experience, because I was a massive consumer of sugar up until about 7 years ago, right? So this increases. You're not necessarily running a marathon, so you're not burning up all the sugar that you are consuming on a day-to-day basis. And so what happens, right? The sugar triggers insulin, then your insulin, because you're not able to utilize it by your muscles, your brain, etc. The insulin now is, you know, the role of insulin is to convert this excess sugar that you're not using, excess glucose, and convert it to fat. Fat is stored in the fat cells, and also you can have fat storage in your muscles and in your organs and so on, right? Clogs up your liver, causes fatty liver disease, and ultimately liver failure, depending on how, you know, quickly it progresses and how severely it progresses, right? So at the end of the day, all this plus all the other sugar you're consuming really adds up, right, to promote fat storage, because that's just what insulin does to the excess sugar. And so not a significant source of saturated fat, trans fat, but it will convert to fat, you know, in the body, because you're not going to use the excess. And then you start having to, in addition to, well, the diabetes is extreme, but then there's a spectrum of diseases leading to diabetes, right? You have the insulin resistance, then you have pre-diabetes, and then you can progress to type 2 diabetes and all the complications of type 2 diabetes, right? So the message I want you to get today is that you should try to start paying attention to food labels, right? Yes, it's a Coca-Cola soda. Yes, it tastes nice, but what is in this? What is in this for it to make it taste good, to make you wanting to come back for more, right? And then think to yourself, does your body really need all this high fructose corn syrup? Do you need caramel color, right? Do you need phosphoric acid, right? Do you need natural flavors, right? I mean, we probably don't need all these things. So maybe save it for like a special occasion. Back in the day, sodas we would only have on like a special occasion, if it was somebody's birthday party in school, or like you got a family Christmas party or whatever. These things were reserved for special occasions, right? But now, I guess because things are so cheap, you know, relatively speaking, you know, we can have these. Like this, for me, if I wanted to have a soda or multiple sodas every day, I could just have them. I could just go and get them, you know, from the hospital or whatever, from the lounge. I could drink as many of these as I wanted without having to pay for them. But I wouldn't have to pay for it up front, but I would have to pay the price, you know, in terms of my health or failing health in the future. So just kind of be aware, start paying attention, taking a look at the labels, and thinking to yourself, or deciding for yourself, is it worth it? Like, is the effect on my health, on my body, worth drinking all these things every single day? Okay, I hope you all found this helpful, and thanks for watching. And I'm just basically encouraging you to pay attention and optimize your health, because, you know, without our health, we really don't have much else. Okay, so y'all have a good day and a good weekend.